Yeah, you know how I always tell you that the so-called UFOs, which are the chariots of Israel, when they invade the earth, right, which is really Yahweh and the angels in those chariots, many people think is going to be little green men from Mars. I always use that example, right? Well, here is an example of what I'm talking about. And I'm going to use pop culture. In other words, a song that was put out back in 1981 by the Scroggins sisters. The Scroggins sisters were from the South Bronx, and they formed a group called ESG, which stands for Emerald, Sapphire, and Gold. And in 1981, they dropped their first album. And on that album was the song called UFO, which later became the most sampled song in early hip hop or hip hop in general. And let me play a little. You might recognize the song. All the instruments were played by the sisters, the Scroggins sisters, because the mother, living in the South Bronx, didn't want her daughters to get caught up in the streets. So she went out and bought some instruments and demanded that her daughters learn to play those instruments. And every week they had to prove that they were learning to play the instrument. So later they formed the group ESG in 1978, and then in 1981 their first album dropped. And from that first album came this song right here called UFO. Here it is right here.
I am thankful for a successful launch.
Yeah, nailed it. How about you, Robot Arm? What are you thankful for? Aww. Yeah.
Once we get past the commercials, of
really
course.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so you might recognize that. As you see down here, one of the comments says, one of the most famous samples ever. So that was UFO by the Scroggins sisters. They were also famous for the song Moody. If you put on the song Moody, you might recognize it. Those of you that are familiar with that kind of music that came out around the early 80s, it was very popular in New York. So now, fast forward to about a few years ago. Since then, the only member of the group that's left is Renee Scroggins, which she was the lead singer of the group ESG. The other members have left, and it's just her and her children, her son and daughter. So now they give this live performance in Brixton, right? And they're going to play the song UFO, and you're going to see Renee Scroggins' son come out like a dancing alien. All right? Which again proves my point. Many people associate the UFOs, the so-called UFOs, which are really the chariots of Israel, with little green men from Mars. Now, in this performance, which Renee Scroggins performing the original, Renee Scroggins from the original group ESG, performing the song with her children, son and daughter, performing the song UFO, and her son going to come out like a dancing alien. All right? So check it out. It's just something that I found interesting. But it proves my point. Okay, I got to bring it back. Also, it was the most sampled song in hip hop. You're going to hear her daughter say that, Renee Scroggins. You're going to hear her daughter say that. So check it out. That's her daughter right there. Hold up.
Get ready to dance. Hi! Y'all enjoying that, huh? Alright, so the next song we're gonna do for you, most sample song, you all know it. Get ready to dance and go on an extraterrestrial ride for UFO.
The Dancing Alien. Again, the name of the song is UFO. Now, let me bring it back a little. The one who's playing the guitar, that was Renee Scroggins, right? And she was from the original group ESG, which was formed back in 1978. All right, I'm trying to get her on the screen here. Matter of fact, let me bring it back. I'll show you. There she goes right there. There she goes right there. From the original, she's from the original group ESG. All right, she's the one who wrote the song UFO, which became the most sampled song in hip hop. And just like you saw her performing it with her children, a son and daughter. And her son came out like a dancing alien for the song UFO. So this is, I'm into music, so, I found that interesting. I thought I'd share it with y'all. But it proves one point, that when the so-called UFOs really invade this planet Earth, which, when I say invade, meaning en masse, to the point of where the skies are covered with them. All right, because many people see UFO sightings and that's Yahweh Shemiah Shai making their presence known. But the day is coming when these skies are going to be covered with so-called UFOs. All right, and many people think it's going to be little green men from Mars. They're being invaded by little green men from Mars, and that's going to add to the panic. Like the scripture says in Jeremiah the 10th chapter. Let's read that. Jeremiah the 10th chapter. All right, Jeremiah the 10th chapter and the first verse. It says this, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. One of the signs of heaven are the so-called UFOs, which are really the chariots of Israel. For the heathen are dismayed at them. So that's one of the reasons why the heathen are dismayed at them, the unlearned. because they think, the wicked elites have lied to them, telling them that within those so-called UFOs, the chariots of Israel, are little green men from a foreign planet such as Mars. Little green men from Mars. Okay? So that's going to add to the dismay of the people and the panic of the people. So I use that example, that pop culture example from that group and the song UFO. I use that pop culture example to prove that point, because later the group who wrote it, ESG, later when the original member performed it, her son came out like a dancing alien to represent the song UFO. You heard her daughter say, "We're going to take you on an extraterrestrial ride." And that is a bad song. And that song is bad because it was the most sampled song in hip hop. Big Daddy Kane used it. A bunch of Tribe Called Quest, a bunch of groups used that song. But now you know where the original came from. Okay, UFO from ESG, the Scroggins sisters from the South Bronx. So hopefully you found that interesting. If you did, drop a comment in the comment section, and on to the next one.